Hi, everyone. Okay, let's just wait a couple seconds here just so we can wait for everybody else to get on. So we'll just wait a couple seconds. Okay. Well, while we're waiting for everybody else to get on, I'll start with just some introduction. My name is Jennifer. I'm one of the education and outreach specialists here at the Sexual Assault Resource Center. Basically, we provide services to survivors of sexual violence. If you're not aware of who we are and kind of what we do, we provide free and confidential services such as free counseling. We have a 24-hour hotline that anyone can call at any time. And we also do accompaniments to hospitals. Right now, things are looking a little bit different just because we are virtual. So we are doing all of our counseling in virtual, and our accompaniments, we are not doing those right now. But we do have a lot of really cool services, and everything is free and confidential. And we do provide those services for ages 13 and up. But today we're going to be talking about something a little different. We're not talking about one specific topic. The topic is frequently asked questions. And so basically what I do is I go out in the community and I do presentations for schools, organizations, businesses, and many other things. If anybody needs a presentation, I'll do it. And I've kind of noticed over the past year that I've been at SARC that there have been pretty common questions that people have been asking. So we've seen questions all across the board throughout different presentations that we do. And we do presentations on just SARC services, what sexual violence is, human trafficking, consent, many other presentations. But I kind of noticed the same questions coming at me, and so I wanted to share those with you guys so we were able to just give you those answers if anybody had those questions and maybe they weren't able to make a presentation or not. So one of the ones we have here is, it's going to be about consent. So does consent always have to be a verbal yes? I get that question all the time. I think in the past we've said that it doesn't always have to be a verbal yes, or it hasn't been very clear about that. Definitely a no was very clear, and it was no means no, but we are definitely moving to a more yes means yes format. So short answer, yes, there definitely has to be a verbal yes. It doesn't have to be the word yes. It can be different forms of it, but it does have to be yes, and it can't have any coercion behind it. It has to be freely given, so without any threats or without just anyone forcing them to do it. And it can't be like an unsure yes, like sure or I guess so. Those aren't really the full enthusiastic yes that we really would like in a consent situation. We do see that, and the reason I said short answer was because if you look at a long-term relationship where somebody is with somebody for a very long time, you can have a conversation with that person about what your consent looks like. And it might look different in that long-term relationship, but definitely when you are just starting to date somebody and you're just starting out, it's important to say that verbal yes, because you don't know how that other person gives consent. You don't really know if that was an unsure yes or if that was a forced yes or a persuaded yes. So short answer, yes, definitely. There needs to be some kind of verbal affirmation, verbal yes to that other person for it to be considered consent. And I didn't mention this before, but if you have any questions or anything, please put them in the comments. Just so you know, the comments are not confidential. So if you have any personal questions, just call our hotline. And our hotline is 979-731-1000. And that's on our website and all of our social media as well. So you can check that out. But so there's the first common asked question that I've been asked. And when I do services presentations, we talk about consent as well, because consent is a very common theme in all sexual violence. So I always mention it in any presentation I do. So I always kind of get those questions that are like, what does it actually look like? Do we have to say yes? Does it have to be a verbal yes? So yes, it does. Short answer, yes. Another one we have here is, how common are false accusations when reporting to law enforcement? We get this question a lot. It's definitely a fear of some people to be falsely accused, and that we actually have the numbers here to show how common it is. So I usually have people guess how common it is, and I get numbers all across the board. I usually say, so what percentage do you think are false reports of sexual assault reports to law enforcement? So the actual answer is 2 to 8%, and that really does surprise people. It's important that we know, Megan, it's important that we basically really focus on the other 92 to 98% of people who are reporting that are actually telling the truth and that are telling the truth, because the number of false reports is so low. It's interesting that sometimes we do focus on that. But when you look at other crimes like burglary and other crimes around there, it's actually pretty similar. The false accusation rates are pretty similar. So we got to focus on the people who are telling the truth and make sure that we help them and support them in the best way that we can. Okay, so another one here. How can I best support a family or friend who has experienced sexual violence? I get this question all the time. And we get this question on the hotline, and we definitely get this just a lot. It's a really important question, because if somebody is reaching out to you for support and maybe telling you their story and what happened to them, it's very important how you react and how you best support them. And so what I always say is, first and foremost, listen. It's very simple. You just need to listen to them. Let them lead the conversation. Let them talk about what they want to talk about. If their story, and they're telling all different parts of their story, and it maybe even be a little bit confusing, just let them talk it out, because it's really important that they're able to fully tell their story without any interruption or anything. And actively listen. So nod your head, make sure that you show them that you're engaged in listening to their story, because they might be looking at you like trying to figure out if you're angry or what your reaction is to it. So actively listen. Another tip I have is don't ask any questions. It's very natural for us to want to know more about a situation and want to ask questions, but when you ask questions, even with good intentions, they might come off leading and they might shut the other person down, and maybe they wouldn't want to talk about it anymore. So don't ask any questions. The only question I really suggest you ask is, how can I best support you, or what would you like from me? Those kind of questions about how can I help you, because your way of helping somebody might not be what they need in that moment. And a way that you can help them, if somebody tells you their story and tells you what they're going through and is talking about their experience, you can say, well, what would you like to do? Would you like to report? If you don't, that's okay. Would you like to go seek services? Would you like to go to counseling? All these different things. You can ask them, what do you want to do next? And I'll support you in whatever that is. And if supporting them means that you find the phone number for them, or you sit with them while they call us, or call whoever they need to call, that might just be what they need in that moment. So there are a lot of different ways you can help support somebody, but again, just listen to them, be compassionate, really hear out their story, and just try to support them as best you can. Okay, next one we have here. So another question to ask is, what should somebody do if they are being sexually harassed? So present tense, if somebody is being sexually harassed, what should they do? There are many different things that they can do. We really do say that tell the other person to stop, that this is unwelcome, that you don't want this kind of messages, that you don't want this kind of interaction. If you feel unsafe when saying that, that's totally fine. You don't have to, but if you do feel safe enough to say, hey, I don't like this, please don't contact me, that's great. Another thing you can do is keep a log and list of every single interaction you have with this harasser. So if it's through messages, if it's online, screenshot messages, screenshot anytime they call you, keep a log of the times they call you, all of that. And I know it might seem like a lot, but just so you have that data and that whole schedule of how much they have tried to contact you. If it's in person, again, keep a log of maybe what they said, where you met them or where you saw them, what time it was, what date it was, just those very, it could be annoying to write it down, but it'll really be important later on that you have all of that. If you choose to report, or if it gets more dangerous and more severe, you have that whole backlog of what exactly happened and when. Another thing you can do is you can reach out to, let's say if you're in school, you can reach out to Title IX. If you're at work, you can talk to your supervisor or HR. If you are not in any of those, you can reach out to us and we can help you and kind of point you where to go. You can talk to law enforcement. There's a lot of different ways and different people you can contact. But if you're confused in the moment, you don't really know what's going on, you can just call us and we can help provide you with resources and refer you to who might best help you. Okay, we have the next one here. So after presentations, sometimes I'll have somebody come up to me and ask me more of a private question or a personal question, and I usually stay about 5 minutes after just in case anybody does have these questions. But one of the ones I usually get is it too late to get help, or is it worth it to get help? If somebody was assaulted, let's say this is the question. So they usually say, is it too late for me? Is it too late for me to heal from this? I was assaulted when I was a child or in college, and now I'm in my later life and I'm experiencing some symptoms of trauma and all these different things. Is it too late? And I always say it's never too late to get help. Healing journeys look different across the board. There's not one way to heal. There's not one timeline. You don't need to get help right after. If somebody isn't ready, they're not ready. So if somebody comes to us and it happened 20 years ago, we are more than happy to help them, and we are more than happy to provide those services for them. So it's never too late to get help. And if it seems kind of scary to call or to really already get into counseling or get some services from us or any crisis center that's near you, you can call the hotline and you can talk about it first and see if this is something that you are interested in or that you would want. But there we go for that. And then one I always get, I know I get all of these are all very common, but one I get almost every single time is, how can I support or get involved with SARC? People want to help. They want to serve survivors. They want to be an advocate or do certain things to make sure that they are supporting their friends and family. So one thing you can do is you can volunteer for us. We have an advocate program, and it's a 40-hour training, an amazing training you go through. Many different speakers talk about their experience with survivors and how they've helped people around them and in their field. So you can do that. And what an advocate does is they answer a 24-hour hotline, and they go to the hospital when we are doing accompaniments. They go to the hospital, meet the survivor there, and give them support, give them resources, stay with them if they need to. But there's so many different ways. If that's maybe too much of a time commitment, that's okay. There are so many other ways you can support us by sharing all of our information on social media, following our social media. We have Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And we do now have a YouTube, which this video will be posted on. So just share our information, because you might have a follower that sees that, and that might be their decision to get help. Or that might just they might look at that and say, I'm not alone. And so even just as simple as sharing a post that's a motivational post or something that makes people feel good, that is really supporting us and supporting survivors and even your friends and family who may have experienced this. So that's it with all of the frequently asked questions. If you have any more questions you want to ask, feel free to comment on this. Just know that it's not confidential. If you have a more personal question, please call our hotline. It's 979-731-1000. All of that information can be found on our Facebook, on our website, sarcbb.org. So I appreciate you guys coming on here. And again, this will be posted on Facebook and YouTube. And I hope everybody has a great rest of their week. Bye.